It's broke. Fix it. Don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate you. Here's my problem. Every time I try to tighten in my tailstock onto my headstock to push against for a jam chuck or for a spur drive, I can't get my tailstock to stop moving. I'll whack it and try to get it so it'll stop, all right? But no matter what I do, this is what happens. It constantly, you can see it, it's constantly moving. I'm whacking on it, I'm trying to get it as tight as I can get it, and it's still moving here. So I can't get enough pressure to keep it from slipping on the drive, whatever I'm using on there, a jam chuck or a spur drive. So this is how I fixed it. I've been doing quite a bit of first turn or wet wood turning, and because of that, all the sap and the wetness in the wood gets into all your tools. So you have to stop there periodically and clean them all back up and re-wax them so that they'll slide properly. But I also had another problem, and it has to do with this. And on the edges here, it actually had built up a bunch of grime or whatever, was making this so this was actually sliding. So what I did is I took and I cleaned this back up and took a little sandpaper and cleaned off the edges here. And I did that on both the Banjo and the tailstock. And on the tailstock, this baby just wouldn't hold. So I'll show you something else I did on the lathe to help correct that. But again, on this one, cleaned up the inside of the holding bar, but you need the one underneath it to not slide so easily. You want to be able to have it so it has a little bit of grip to it. So just a little touch up with some sandpaper, and then I'll rough it up just enough to give it a holding pattern. All right, another thing I did is I've been having problems with this locking in place, and I've been whacking this with my trusty little wood mallet, and not good. But I have an extra one of these laying around. All I do is put it right over top of it, and now I have leverage. I can actually lock it down and it stays where it's supposed to be. Because on the bed lace, of course, the tops we cleaned up again and re-waxed and got that all set. But underneath, I did the exact same thing I did to the Banjo and to the tailstock, and took a piece of sandpaper and cleaned the bottom side of the lathe. So all the grease and all the rest of the gunk that was underneath is all gone, and do not wax it. Then I just came back through and hit it with a sandpaper. And now, when I push on my tailstock to set my spur drive, she stays in place. And the other thing, because of this, I can grab right on, and it gives me just enough leverage that I need to really give it a little lockdown. But that worked great. I mean, that's fixing two problems right off the bat. I'm going to show you another little problem I had. This is the spur drive that came with my Nova Galaxy lathe. First off, it's a little small for what I do. I use bigger pieces of wood on it. And maybe it's designed to, but I always push things. But this is a 4-prong. What I did is I went out and I bought a 2-prong. This I got from Wood Turner's Wonders. That was 39 bucks. I mean, I had another one that was a lot more expensive, and I sent that one back because I didn't like it. But this one works extremely well. And what's nice about the 2-prong is you set this up with the grain, and it actually embeds better into your bowl blank. When you use this one, it actually has the two sides here are actually keeping it from embedding farther into the wood. So if it just had two, it would embed better. But this works really, really wonderful. I'm real happy I did that. Now, all that cleaning and everything I did in regards to fixing everything underneath the lathe and underneath the tailstock and the Banjo was because of this reason. I need to be able to lock that down so it doesn't move, because when you set the spur drive, you got to crank it in. And I mean crank it in. That is very snug. My tailstock was slipping, so I couldn't get that tight, because no matter what I did, the tailstock would just keep sliding down that way. But by cleaning off the bottom and getting that all straightened back up again and putting this on, that gave me the extra leverage I needed to be able to lock it in place. All right, she's ready to be turned.